Hello and welcome to another installment of Building History. I am your host, and thank you for joining me once again. Again, I have to apologize right off the bat for being slow. I was unexpectedly taken away from to work. Haven't been at the workbench in quite some time, but I assure you we're back at it, and we're going to get this thing taken care of. All that's coming up. Once again, welcome back to another episode of Building History as we continue our work on the F-22 Raptor from Hobbyboss. As I said in the last episode, I had hoped to get this installment out much quicker than what had actually happened. Unfortunately, I was kept away from the bench for quite some time. I haven't been able to do really anything at all outside of work. But I'm back. I'm going to get this one out. I'm going to get the next episode, and I think the next episode will be the last. And we're going to wrap it up on the F-22 Raptor. Now, coming up on this episode, we're going to get all the body work done, get this thing ready for paint. There was a lot of body work to do. A lot of fit issues. Of course, it didn't help that I was choosing to do this with the gear up, which clearly this kit was not designed for, but that is a challenge of my own making, and one that I did not deal with appropriately, but I digress. I do want to say thank you to all of those who have already subscribed. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing, give a quick like, a comment down below. It truly helps me grow the channel and continue putting out these videos and these episodes. Thank you once again for your continued support. The first production F-22 was unveiled on April 9th, 1997 from Lockheed's facility in Marietta, Georgia, and first flew on September 7th, 1997. Low-rate initial production first started on August 15th, 2001, with the first operational F-22As, as it was then designated, being delivered to the 53rd Wing of the 422nd Test and Evaluation Squadron at Nellis Air Force Base in July of 2003. On September 26, 2003, the 43rd Fighter Squadron of the 325th Fighter Wing at Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida was tasked as the formal training unit for the F-22 Raptor. The first combat-coded squadron to receive the F-22 was the 1st Fighter Wing, the 27th Fighter Squadron of Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, in May of 2005, and the F-22 reached initial operational capability in December of 2005, and it reached full operational capability with the 1st Fighter Wing in December of 2007. From first asking for proposals in 1981 to the first flight in 1990, we didn't get to full operational capability until 2007, 26 years after initially realizing there was a need for this airplane. The United States Air Force originally wanted 750 total models, and in 1990 that number was reduced to 648. Again, in 97, reduced further to 339, and in 2003, reduced once again to 277 total models. In 2004, the Department of Defense further reduced this to 183 examples, and finally, in 2008, the total number was increased slightly, just so slightly, to 187. And in December of 2011, the final F-22, the 195th example, was completed and production ceased. It was then delivered on May 5th, 2012. Under U.S. law, the F-22 cannot be exported to any foreign nation. In order to protect its technology. However, the F-35, which was developed from some of the F-22 technology, can be exported. Now, the F-22 has had many names over the course of its life. The YF-22 originally started as the Lightning II, a reference to Lockheed's World War II fighter, the P-38 Lightning. Ultimately, that name went to the F-35 in production. It was additionally known as the F-22 Rapier at one point, and then finally the FA-22 Raptor, before finally being designated as the current F-22A Raptor. Now, what I had to do with this, besides a lot of filling with some putty, was the intakes are absolutely atrocious. They're terrible. There is a huge gap in them, besides the fact they're completely the wrong shape. I didn't want to go into reshaping them, but I did want to fill in some of the empty space that was there. But I ended up building a rudimentary box that kind of fleshed out the intake a little bit, so at least there's some substance there. Again, it's still not the right shape. That's okay, I can live with that. The main concern I had was from the certain angles you could just see clearly straight up into the empty void of the body, and that's just something I couldn't deal with. So I did put some styrene, a bunch of just like crudely shaped, crudely cut out styrene in there to fill in some of that space and make it look like there was an actual canal, an actual intake into the engines. It took so much more time than I was expecting it to, and as I had said before, the weapons base had already kind of killed my mojo on the kit. This made it even worse. And then once I got to filling and sanding all the gear doors, making those fit, and then rescribing, although very poorly, I did a terrible job. I just didn't care at that point anymore. I just did not care, and I was ready to be done with it. In the end, it's something that I'm okay living with. It, of course, is not going to win any awards. That's all right. I don't go to award shows anyway, so that's just fine by me. I'm going to wrap this one up there. Thank you once again for joining me. on this latest installment of Building History. Next time we're going to finish this up. I'm going to put my foot down. I'm making the next part 4 is going to be the last. We're going to get it painted and completely finished. So thank you so much for joining me, and please join me next time. And this time, as much as I promised last time, I'm not going to promise this time, because as soon as I do, then I'm not going to be able to, it won't happen. But I'm going to work very, very hard to get the next installment out in a much more timely manner. So look for that coming up as we finish the F-22 Raptor on Building History.